Good evening. Welcome. My name is Tom DePalma. For you first-time visitors, I'm administrator of CR Gas Log and Fireplace. I have Chef Artek here tonight. And second night, last year, if you look at his bio, how impressive it is. And the thing that I'm most impressed is not only the chefs that he's worked under, is the fact that his background, beginning in Asia, traveled to, your dad worked where?
Everywhere. We lived in Africa at one point for 9 years.
And he was in the hotel?
Yeah, hotel restaurant industry.
So he's had a varied experience of cuisines and cultures, and it came out last year very impressive, not only his passion for what he's doing, but in terms of his range of knowledge and depth. Some people can get up and they can kind of read a few notes and present some, some surface information. Chef knows the depths, and I was watching him last year. He was going in so many different directions with the questions. You know that he's very versed. And you're in for a great experience tonight because what he's going to offer you is going to be very, very unique. And we're excited that you're here. And if you have questions, that's what it's about, to ask questions. That's why he insists on being up here with you, so you can really just direct the class to what you need to know. So let's give him a big hand.
Thank you, Tom. Well, as Tom said, I have a varied experience, and after I decided to go to culinary school, and I did go local to Schenectady County Community College, which has an amazing culinary program for anyone that's interested in eventually maybe taking part-time classes. I fully recommend going there because the teachers are so passionate about what they're doing, and they've definitely given me so much more, and I'm just trying to give it back as well, which is why I love doing cooking demos and classes to help, transfer that knowledge and just pay homage to everyone I've worked under. So I originally started off in pastries and my love of sweets, so you'll notice that my cooking style generally tends to go to the sweet side, but at the same time I try to do a balance with everything that I've learned from my culture and try to do as much things naturally as possible. So we're starting off with a wonderful watermelon salad. At Yono's, we have a smoking gun, which we use for our cocktails, and we also do our own fish gravlax, so we do a lot of cold smoking. And the amazing thing about doing cold smoking is that hot smoking cooks and dries out a lot of products. So you hear people do, they smoked pork shanks, pork butts, but that cooks the item through. With cold smoking, what you do is you retain all the moisture, all the crispness of the original product. So if you, let's say, you cold smoked salmon, you're basically just imbuing the flavors, and then also, at the same time, the smoke preserves the food as well. So it gives a lot more longevity, but additional flavor and depth. So I have two sets of woods here. I have applewood and cherrywood. They are very subtle, but they, like you hear a lot of terms, applewood smoked bacon, and people don't really go into depth, but it's basically right off of the apple tree or cherry tree for the cherry wood. So I'm going to just pass it around the two ramekins. The black one is the applewood, and the red one is cherry wood. Basically, you can't use any type of wood to smoke, because if you have something that's like pine tree or conifer, it has resin, which is actually very poisonous. So you want to be careful with which woods you actually do smoke your food with. So be aware with that. Also, if you're also doing like grilling with wood, be careful with what type of wood you use to grill with as well. So those are small wood chips. So basically, for the watermelon salad, I basically just did the typical melon ball method with a Parisian scoop. You just go right into the watermelon, pop it right out, and just follow along. But the key thing about the restaurant industry is that you want to also, basically utilize every piece. People don't think about the rind, which is the next important thing that I'm going to be talking about, because the watermelon, most people don't think, it's sweet, it's a fruit, dessert, but it actually has a major source of lycopene and beta-carotene, which is actually very good for your blood flow as well. Some people in Asia joke that it's an aphrodisiac because it's almost like a natural Viagra. No, like seriously, because it basically relaxes the blood muscles, and in turn technically is kind of like a Viagra, and the nature's Viagra. So that's why you always hear about, you know, watermelon and certain combinations of things as being aphrodisiacs. So, you know, summer of love, and, you know, we'll start off with a summer salad then. So when you do a Parisian scoop, you'll notice that there's always going to be a waste. And that's where we come up with using turning the small pieces into a puree, which will then be used to make the actual vinaigrette. You know, so there's always ways to use the bits and pieces, you know, aside from tasting it yourself, which is always a great thing. But that's the one thing that they teach you, you know, when you go to culinary school is, you know, food cost, because food is so expensive these days. I think a few weeks ago when we were doing ordering for just eggplants, I feel sorry for the Italian restaurants out there because at one point eggplant was almost $80 a case, which it normally is $18 a case. So anyone that was buying eggplant parm was getting a big deal because they can't, it's actually, the eggplant parm at one point a couple of months ago costed more than chicken and veal parm. And a lot of Italian restaurants can't take it off their menu, but they were losing money, which is, you know, shame for them. But, and that's the thing, most restaurants, once they print a menu, they can't change their prices. So that's where, you know, the focus on food costs is so important. And, you know, and when you understand how food is created as well, you know, it'll make you smarter shoppers as well. That way you can buy it for yourself. Or when you go to a restaurant, you can see how certain things are value priced, you know. And you sometimes also wonder how certain things are sometimes too cheap, like say Chili's or, you know, all the the major outlets out there that are national brands. It's because they actually have very, very strict food costs. That's why they don't allow subs for a $15, you know, meal, three-course meal. It's because they are very strict about it, and that's something that most small restaurants don't have the ability to do because they don't have $50 million of purchasing power. You know, at most local restaurants maybe do $500,000 at Cisco, and then you got the big companies like the Malozzi Group and Mazzone who do quite a bit. So I'm going to stop here for the melon ball. And at the restaurant, as I mentioned, we have a smoking gun, which we use, that's from Polyscience. A lot of people have gotten into molecular gastronomy in the last couple of years, and it's basically a tool that automatically takes, has a filter that you stick all the mini wood chips, and you take a smidgen, like maybe a quarter ounce of wood chips, and then you basically just put a lighter to it, and it fills an entire small bowl with smoke, and it's a really nifty tool. Unfortunately, Dominic, the owner, it's his toy, so we can't exactly borrow that. But I'm going to show you a trick on how to actually create your own smoke within. What I did earlier was actually fold the foil into a small compartment and then pop it right into the center of the bowl. Now, most people won't really think about it, but a blowtorch is an amazing cooking utensil. You know, it works instantly better than a lighter, and well, it's multiverse. You know, it's all about utilization. You know, one tool for everything. So rather than have a lighter and a little creme brulee torch, just buy one at Home Depot, and it does the exact same job. So what I'm doing right now is I'm going to basically start the embers, and it's now starting to go. By not actually having any heat in the bowl, you're keeping the moisture locked in for all the watermelon, and it's basically just being lightly infused. So it basically fills it. The little amount that I just did is now actually filling the bowl lightly with the smoke, and you're looking more for a subtle flavor. You know, nothing too overpowering. That's why I just use a small amount. A little goes a long way. You know, less is more, as a lot of the top restaurants say. You know, sometimes people try to put too much flavors and everything, but just a small amount of flavor. And then basically what I do is I leave the bowl inside the freezer actually, because it condenses the volume of the air in there, and then also makes the watermelon even more crisper. So like this morning when I smoked the batch of watermelon for the salad, I did it for about half an hour, and it actually has a really nice smell. Any questions about smoking? Anything at all? Or? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't catch it.
Do you get the wood chips fully inflamed, or do you just?
No, they just have to be. They just have to catch. The wood chips are so small that the moment it hits any fire, basically it starts burning all the way through, and they don't actually have to have a flame. And you're looking more for just the smoke, not the flame itself, to permeate throughout the entire food. So. Now for the watermelon, a lot of Asian cultures actually use the rind for a lot of reasons. In Korea, they actually, I'm going to just do a shortcut and start again the rind off. But a lot of Koreans, they actually use the full skin as well. But in order for a home cook, I would always suggest to remove the peel, the outer layer, the green layer, because it takes actually a week for it to actually cure all the way through if you're going to pickle it. It's completely edible, but it needs the vinegar to actually go through, cook through it. So if you want to actually have like a fresh pickle, almost like a half sour pickle, basically what I do is square off. Like the best way to do the watermelon is basically square it off, so that way you almost have like a square section. So then almost no waste. It's all, you can leave some red, but then take the green peel off. Yeah. And then I usually cut it into little bâtonnets, which is basically like a 1/4-inch matchstick pieces. And this actually cures very fast. The pickle that you're going to be tasting later on was actually cured for a total of, I think, 1 hour total. Once you have the bâtonnets all set, we use salt. Do a salt brine first. So in the recipe, I have basically a 1/4 cup with a half cup of salt. And what that does is actually, it does a couple things. For one thing, it starts the osmosis process of pulling out the internal liquids and then pulling in the brine solution, which also preserves the food. The osmosis process also sets it up for the next part of the pickling process, which is to actually infuse it with the flavor and then cook through all the way. And the last thing it does is also it sterilizes, because the salt is antimicrobial. This recipe, you could actually have all the watermelon rind set up in pickling jars, and then once you boil the pickling solution, it actually, you can seal it then, and you can actually keep it for up to 6 months, ready in your storage. So you can actually have summer ready in the middle of winter. So flavors of summer. And that's the other thing that, for the restaurant industry we do is by pickling things, you actually can preserve certain flavors that you wouldn't be able to have during winter. So like Brian Molino, he does an amazing job with pickling, because he actually harvests his own ramps in the middle of the summer, and he gets a ton of it. I think last year he had 20 jars worth of ramps that he pickled for the when he was at Marche, and he had it all ready, so that way it was like just basically he used it as a garnish, but he had it in the middle of winter when everyone else doesn't, you don't see it until April, and then it's basically the harvest season is done around the beginning of July. So that's, if you want to see your favorite fruits that you picked yourself readily available, that's where learning about pickling and canning, it comes in handy. So, yeah. In terms of the brine, just remember it's basically equal parts water, vinegar, and sugar. So in this case, I have rice wine vinegar, because I'm doing a bit of the Asian flavor. Now, if you have quart containers and you fill it all the way up, basically the ratio is you want to fill it up halfway, which means you want a 2-cup yield for a quart container, so half yield on that. And what that does, it'll actually fill it all the way up, so you also don't waste anything. So like the recipe I have here is actually enough watermelon rinds to fill up 2 quart containers. And basically, this was basically half a watermelon. I have another quart container, and it filled up exactly. So also, figuring out the recipe